I'm Maritza Giorgio in Washington. And as a government shutdown could be fast approaching, a group of former national park superintendents are asking the administration to close the parks to visitors if that happens. In the past, when there were federal government shutdowns, a number of parks were ruined because they remained open. They were vandalized, there were habitats damaged, and in some cases, visitors were in danger. Now, Congress has until Tuesday to agree on a continuing resolution, or thousands of federal workers will be either furloughed or now the administration is threatening layoffs altogether. Both Nexstar and Sinclair Broadcasting will start airing Jimmy Kimmel Live again on its ABC affiliates starting tonight. Now, both companies had been preempting the show since September 17th after Kimmel's comments about Charlie Kirk's killing. Now, ABC, the network, placed Kimmel back on the air earlier this week, but up until today, local stations owned by Sinclair and Nexstar said their customers would not be able to watch the show, so the blackout there is over. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee says an influx of federal agents will help Memphis police start fighting crime next week, and that will include some National Guard troops. This comes after President Trump said earlier this month that he will send the Guard to Memphis to deal with crime. Trump called the city deeply troubled and said he's fixing it like he did Washington. Now, Governor Lee supports this deployment. Memphis's mayor, Paul Young, says he didn't ask for the Guard, and he doesn't think it's the best way to fight crime.
President Donald Trump appears to welcome the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey and suggests there could be others to follow.
But he got caught lying to Congress.
Trump says Comey, quote, knew exactly what he was saying and that it was a very serious and far-reaching lie for which a very big price must be paid. A grand jury indicted Comey, charging him with one count of making a false statement to Congress about whether he authorized a leak to the media and another for obstruction. Comey's counsel says he denies the charges. Days before the indictment, Trump, who frequently laments about what he views as weaponization of the government, pointed to Comey among others in a post in which he pushed for a new U.S. attorney for the same district the case is in and demanded justice. Leaving the White House Friday, Trump suggested there could be others when asked who's next.
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats, because Comey essentially was he's worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey, but no, there'll be others.
Still, Trump denied that it was about revenge.
It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on. They are sick, radical left people, and they can't get away with it.
Comey says he's known there are, quote, costs for standing up to Donald Trump, as some Democrats have accused the president of weaponizing the DOJ.
My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
Comey's arraignment is scheduled for October 9th. Haley Bull, Scripps News Group, Washington.
President Trump announced new import taxes starting October 1st. They'll include 100% tariff on pharmaceutical drugs, 50% on kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities, and 25% on heavy trucks. The president said the tariffs are needed for national security and to protect domestic manufacturing. The pharmaceutical tariffs could double medication prices for consumers. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has warned that higher prices are already driving up inflation, but President Trump claims there is no inflation, despite consumer prices rising 2.9% during the past year. During President Trump's announcement on autism this week, he claimed that a drug called leucovorin could be a possible treatment option. It's typically prescribed to manage the side effects of chemotherapy. One Arizona mom says that's what a doctor prescribed her child with autism. Scripps News Group's Ben Brown sat down with her to hear about the family's experience with the medication.
I made a dream room.
Ben Bonarotti is an artist. He recently graduated high school and just celebrated his 21st birthday.
Drawing, yeah.
You're really gifted at drawing and painting, aren't you?
Yeah.
In the past few months, his mom, Heidi, has started to notice some changes in Ben's behavior.
We saw subtle but significant changes in Ben. He would say, "Hey, Mom, look, that's a beautiful sunset." He would text his friends spontaneously.
Ben was diagnosed with autism just before his 3rd birthday.
Where do you start?
Occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, equestrian therapy with the horses. Do you remember that on the horses?
Yeah.
Yep. And music therapy. I mean, you name it, we did it.
But they recently found a new type of treatment.
We started out small, in small doses.
Leucovorin, it's been around for decades and primarily used to protect healthy cells from the effects of cancer treatment. On Monday, the Food and Drug Administration announced it was expanding its label to reflect its potential benefit for treating symptoms of autism.
We have patients coming to us here in Chandler from all over the U.S., and actually we have a large amount of patients coming from Mexico. And so of those patients, we would say that about 75% make significant progress.
Individuals with a cerebral folate deficiency have been observed to develop autistic symptoms. This medicine helps transport that essential vitamin to the brain.
What I see is improved language, improved behavior, social skills, etc. And we see that with a large proportion of children who are taking the leucovorin.
Dr. Sean Centers is a homeopathic physician. He said the wrong dosage could lead to hyperactivity or gastrointestinal problems.
It's in Eiffel Tower.
For Heidi, she's excited to see Ben continue to progress and find his voice.
Last night, we were driving through the neighborhood, and he looks out the window and he says, "Hey, look, those kids are on a slip and slide."
Yeah.
And I looked over like, and then he started giggling. And I said, "Ben, why are you giggling?"
Because I'm thinking about something silly.
Ben Brown, Scripps News Group.
An ICE officer has been relieved of his current duties after he shoved a woman into a wall and then to the ground at an immigration court in New York City. Now, ICE's assistant secretary says the officer's conduct is unacceptable. Videos showing this incident had prompted outrage and calls for disciplinary action. We're going to show you photos. The video is disturbing. These photos show parts of the altercation. In one video shared on social media, a woman and a girl are seen clinging with locked arms to a man, reportedly this woman's husband, who is being detained. One masked agent grabs her hair as someone says, "Just grab her and pull her away." Moments after separating the woman and the man, she's removed from the hallway into a nearby room. It's unclear how long she was in the room. The video resumes with her in the hallway speaking to a federal agent saying, "You guys don't care about anything," in Spanish. The agent then says, "Adios, adios," as the woman pleads and motions her hands toward the agent. Now, ICE says it is conducting a full investigation into this incident.
Mario Guevara, a Hispanic journalist originally from El Salvador, has been in ICE detention for more than 100 days as of this week. Guevara's lawyers are urging the government to immediately release him as he now faces imminent deportation. We spoke with one of those lawyers, ACLU senior staff attorney Vera Edelman, who is arguing the government is retaliating against Guevara for his reporting on ICE activity in Georgia and violating his First Amendment rights.
I think it's about what the government can do when it hears, sees, reacts to reporting that it doesn't like, reporting that is purely shedding a light on what the government is doing. And I think that it is part of the general effort by this administration to use the full weight of the government and things beyond the weight of the government to impose ideological conformity and to make people afraid to talk about the government, to express views that the government doesn't like.
Federal prosecutors argue Guevara was placed in deportation proceedings because of his immigration status, not his reporting on ICE. But free speech advocates say that isn't true. Nora Benavides is senior counsel and the director of digital justice and civil rights at Free Press.
There's no other case like this right now. Mario is the only journalist in the United States jailed for his reporting. This is so antithetical to the way the U.S. was founded, to the way that the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment were created. This is exactly the situation the First Amendment intended and was written to protect against. And there really are no other cases like this. But I worry that Mario may not be the last.
Guevara, in a handwritten letter from ICE detention shared by the ACLU, wrote about his pending deportation, saying, "I know I'm about to be deported from this country, a country I have loved and respected for more than 2 decades. Life is not always fair. If I am deported, I will leave with my head held high because I am convinced it will be for doing my work as a journalist and not for committing crimes." On Friday, press freedom groups filed an amicus brief in support of Mario Guevara, and his lawyers are currently seeking a temporary restraining order to prevent what they fear is a fast-track deportation. Katie Tubman, Scripps News Group, New York.
The FTC going after companies that make canceling your subscriptions so difficult. I'm Maura Barrett. Coming up, what an Amazon settlement could mean for you and why some say the FTC needs to refocus its priorities to protect consumers.
Scripps News, part of the Scripps News Group.
Americans keep spending despite growing concerns about the economy. Consumer spending jumped 0.6% in August. That beat economists' forecasts even as inflation hit a 6-month high. But a new University of Michigan survey shows Americans are becoming more pessimistic about the economy. People are worried about higher prices and the job market.
The FTC has targeted companies that it says have engaged in deceptive or misleading conduct that hurts customers. On Thursday, Amazon announced a multi-billion-dollar settlement with the agency, and it could hint at what the FTC hopes to achieve from lawsuits against other major companies. The Federal Trade Commission taking aim at companies it says are using deceptive methods against consumers. On Thursday, Amazon agreeing to pay $2.5 billion to settle FTC allegations that it misled Prime users and knowingly made it difficult for users to cancel the service. Amazon said it settled to resolve the case quickly, but the company admitted no wrongdoing. The settlement coming just days after its trial began this week.
I think it's a win for the FTC. This is the largest settlement they've ever done of this kind, and so I think it's a win for both sides.
Adam Kovakovich is the founder and CEO of Chamber of Progress, a center-left tech industry association, and says this case could have been settled sooner.
Well, I think it's good that the FTC is policing unfair subscriptions, but this case should have never been brought to trial.
Former FTC Chair Lena Khan called the settlement a drop in the bucket for Amazon and a big relief for the executives who knowingly harmed their customers. The FTC also has active lawsuits against Adobe and Uber, each accused of making their subscription services difficult to cancel.
People can make these decisions on their own. They can cancel this stuff on their own.
Paul Steidler is with the Lexington Institute, a conservative think tank, and says the FTC should be focusing on other issues.
It should concentrate on consumer fraud, which is rising and a big problem throughout all sectors of the country.
Outside of the FTC lawsuits, there have been concerns about the Trump administration's moves when it comes to consumer protections. Earlier this week, a group of Democratic attorneys general wrote to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau opposing actions from the Trump administration to shrink its oversight ability. Maura Barrett, Scripps News Group, Washington.
Are you expecting any money from Facebook? Well, one viewer recently reached out to me asking me whether this notice of settlement payment email he received was real. Millions of Facebook users are receiving emails like this one saying their claim form in the Facebook privacy settlement is approved. Payments will be sent in batches over a 10-week period. And eligible users who filed a claim will receive an additional email 3 to 4 days before their payment is issued. We spoke with attorney Danny Karen about what to look for to make sure an email is legitimate and not a scam.
It's got the court caption on the top. It's got a contact number for the lawyers, the claims administrator.
The class action lawsuit came about after Facebook's parent company, Meta, was accused of allowing Cambridge Analytica and other third parties to access private information about Facebook users. Now, those who filed claims are starting to receive payouts, averaging about $30 based on how long you were on Facebook. To refresh your memory, if you've filed a claim, you've already selected your form of payment, such as PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, a prepaid MasterCard, or an old-fashioned check in the mail. So do not respond to emails or texts requesting personal information or payment to receive your settlement award. Now, even if you don't qualify for a payout this time around, Karen says it's important to fill out a claim form anytime you think you might be eligible for a class action settlement.
They are effective in terms of policing the marketplace, keeping bad actors out, making them pay the consequences of misconduct, keeping the marketplace safe and fair for well-behaving vendors and merchants.
For more information about your payout, make sure to visit the official settlement website, FacebookUserPrivacySettlement.com, so you don't waste your money. John Matteries, Scripps News Group.
Between gear, travel, and team fees, it's expensive for kids to play sports these days. This is becoming a bigger concern for families that don't have enough money to pay for their kids to play in these sports. One parent even tells me that he might not even get to see his kids play because prices are so high. At Play It Again Sports in Omaha, I found Tim Wilkins. He's a barber and his wife's a teacher. His kids aren't old enough to play sports yet, but the way things are going, he's not sure they'll be on the roster.
You know, it's not just sports, it's travel and, staying in hotels and gas money.
Increasing costs of youth sports in a time when it seems like everything is getting more expensive has parents searching for deals. Ryan Gentry tells me he's from a hockey family. His kid's travel hockey team costs him around $10,000 a year.
I'm buying my 10-year-old another $100 stick because he broke one at practice last week. When I was a kid, sticks were $20. They were made out of wood and they lasted all year.
A 2024 survey published by Project Play shows the amount of money families spend on youth sports for everything from equipment to hotels for away games has increased each year since 2019, with families saying they spend about $1,000 a year for one child to play one sport. Not only that, This article published in July by Vice says equipment and travel aren't the only things driving up prices. They're reporting private equity firms are buying out Little Leagues across the country, catering to higher income families, and in the process, pricing out others.
I don't think the price will ever truly come down. Unfortunately, with different tariffs and stuff, you see that it's just not possible for the price of equipment to come down.
Play It Again Sports store owner Marcus Schultz, along with parents, tell me that they'd love to see the price of play come down, but fear that it'll get pricier before it gets cheaper.
People who want to have their kids in that level of higher end sports are going to pay, unfortunately, whatever it costs.
I hope intramurals come back really strong and kids just want to start playing for fun again.
In Omaha, I'm Nolan Beaumont.
Have you ever wanted to know how to take the perfect picture, not with expensive equipment, but with just your cell phone? Well, stay tuned, and you can hear some tips from somebody who literally teaches a class on it. Believe it or not, leaf peeping season is upon us, and people are going to be going out to the mountains in droves to see the fall foliage. And if you want to get some beautiful photos, you don't need expensive equipment. Turns out all you need is this.
This is Wash Park, and I know there's not much leaf peeping here at the moment, but it was the perfect spot to meet up with Jeanette Burkle. She's an instructor for the University of Denver's Enrichment Program.
If you know the basics of photography, you know the strengths and you know the limitations of your smartphone, I think you can get some very outstanding photographs that rival those taken with professional cameras.
She teaches a class on smartphone photography, and here are some of the amazing leaf peeping photos she took with her iPhone phone last year. Her first tip for getting the best nature photos is to spend some time walking around to find the best angles.
I look for a way for the viewer to have their eye travel through the photograph. I have created a little leading line from the bottom of the viewfinder for the edge of the pond that kind of brings you up to that tree.
She also recommends setting up the grid lines on your camera app so that you can follow the rule of thirds. Here's the view from her cell phone. Try to line up your horizon line on a horizontal line and put your subject near one of those grid intersections like this. And her most important tip, learn how to set your camera's manual focus and exposure.
So that you get a properly exposed photograph before you actually tap that shutter button.
She says that editing is a valuable tool for any photographer, but that less is more. For example, here are the pictures she took today, before and after a little bit of editing.
It is very tempting to try to up the saturation or up the sharpening. But again, if you look at the details, you end up understanding how much you will kind of degrade that file if you do too much.
If you can, try to get those shots during the golden hour. But the best way to get better is to just go out, be thoughtful about your shots, and have some fun. Ethan Carlson, Scripps News Group.
Autopsy results reveal the gunman who killed 4 people in a Manhattan office building in July had CTE. If you recall, investigators say Shane Tamura was targeting the NFL headquarters, accusing the league of hiding evidence about the brain injury. Tamura suspected he had CTE at the time of the shooting. The 27-year-old played high school football and left a note asking for his brain to be studied. Experts say his case should be a wake-up call for high school football. CTE is caused by repeated head injuries and can only be conclusively diagnosed after death. Hospitals and other healthcare providers could lose more than $32 billion in revenue next year. That is if Congress doesn't renew tax credits under the Affordable Care Act. A new study from the Urban Institute looked at projected losses in hospitals and doctors' offices as a result of less services provided to patients. Now, more than 7 million people could lose subsidized ACA health coverage. Even worse for nearly 5 million people who could end up being totally uninsured. 10 million YouTube subscribers will not be able to watch Sunday Night Football, the NBA, and The Real Housewives soon. That is if YouTube TV and NBCU can't settle a contract dispute by September 30th. That is on Tuesday. NBCU also owns Spanish language network Telemundo. The contract dispute coincides with a separate standoff with Univision. If both fail to reach an agreement, it would mean both major Hispanic broadcast networks will be unavailable to YouTube TV subscribers by next week.
At a packed coffee shop in Maysville, these two politicians talked with business leaders for about an hour. One of the things on the top of their minds, freedom of speech.
I'm passionate about the First Amendment.
Following Charlie Kirk's murder, ABC suspended late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel for his comments. When he returned to the airwaves last night, Kimmel, in part, thanked Rand Paul.
I want to thank the people who don't support my show and what I believe, but support my right to share those beliefs anyway.
So I asked the senator about that.
In a free country, we tolerate those who we disagree with. And I think in this instance, what he said, I disagreed with, and I might have fired him if he were my employee. But the government should have no say in that. You can limit people by employment, but you can't by the First Amendment. And so we found that in common.
These two men are working together for Massey's re-election campaign next fall. They toured much of northern Kentucky. And something Massey's gone toe-to-toe with the Trump administration over is the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Epstein's believed to have sex-trafficked minors to rich and important people. Massey told me he has the votes to get the documents released. And that vote could happen as early as mid-October if the Speaker of the House allows the vote to come to the floor.
You said that you believe that the Trump administration is, looking out for important people. The Biden administration also had those documents. They could have released them too. What do you say to that?
Well, I think once you get to the billionaire level and the way these men were politically connected, they're almost transpartisan. The parties don't matter. These billionaires, like the billionaires running ads against me, they give to both parties. And neither party wants to embarrass them because then the billionaire goes over to the other party and gives the other party money. So I'm standing by that. There was incentive both for Joe Biden and for President Trump not to release his files. But the survivors have spoken at a press conference, and they have told me there are at least 20 names of men that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked women to that have not been released.
Tanya O'Rourke, Scripps News Group.
I'm Mary Jo Ola in Milwaukee. Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin plans to pause abortion services starting October 1st as it navigates cuts to Medicaid funding.
People are shocked. I think unless you do this work, you don't know the back and forth that's happening in the government.
Allie Kliegman says her team at Care for All in Milwaukee is prepared for an influx of patients seeking abortions. Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin will pause abortion appointments starting October 1st as it sorts out next steps amid Medicaid funding cuts. Care for All is one of 2 clinics in Wisconsin left to provide this care. Staff is working with Planned Parenthood.
We're working together to help them out with any clients who were scheduled for day ones and aren't going to be able to get in for their actual procedure or to get their pills in time. We're going to take those referrals and moving forward.
Have you already had referrals come through?
Yes, first thing this morning.
Care for All provides abortion abortion care, and other sexual and reproductive health services at low to no cost. Allie tells me she has been in touch with funders to alert them to the increased need that's expected.
With abortion, nothing is ever settled. There's always things changing.
Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin is working to minimize disruption and trying to see as many patients as possible through September 30th. In a statement, the president and CEO says they will continue to provide the full spectrum of reproductive health care, including abortion, as soon as they are able. They are pursuing every option available.
Wisconsin is where my family lives, where much of my community is, and where I myself had an abortion I desperately needed at the age of 16. This news, like so much of the news, is not just political, it is deeply personal.
During a press conference in Illinois, providers and advocates stressed their network is ready to cover the gap for people in Wisconsin.
We will continue to welcome people from Wisconsin for as long as it takes.
I reached out to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services for comment. We'll let you know if we hear back.
Mary Jo Ola, Scripps News Group.
Standing here near a tributary of water just near Electric Lake, and I just witnessed kokanee salmon swimming upstream, going back to the place where they were born. Hello, I'm Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay. It's pretty exciting to see these bright red fish, and a lot of people are coming to see them at lovely natural spaces like this all around the state. There's one. They're hard to miss. That bright red color, easy to spot as they swim in a shallow stream here at Fairview Canyon.
Normally, throughout the year, they're silver. This time of year, they turn a bright red. The males also get kind of these humped backs, and then they get a longer hooked jaw, and then elongated teeth. And so it is just kind of fun to see that transformation, just this biological process that's taking place each year.
Faith Jolly with the Division of Wildlife Resources says it's a fun thing for local families to do right now.
Like with any wildlife viewing, make sure you're doing it responsibly, right? Make sure you're being respectful of these fish. There are a couple of laws as well. So during this time frame while they're spawning,
from September 10th to November 30th, you can't catch and keep these fish or you'll face a misdemeanor charge and a fine.
It's just important to not disturb them as well. We unfortunately in the past have seen people, trying to pick them up with their hands when they see them in the water. We've had people let their dogs running around and the dogs will inadvertently harass them in the water. And it is just really disruptive.
And because of this issue, DWR has stopped publicizing certain locations that simply got too busy with people leaving trash behind in these serene settings. Now, we had this spot all to ourselves Tuesday afternoon, but they are seeing more people up here after being mentioned by influencers on social media.
Follow all those normal principles for outdoor recreation. Leave no trace, right? Try and stay on established trails. Don't overwhelm the area. Nature is amazing. It's really fun to see wildlife. We just want to encourage people to do it responsibly.
I just watched a fish jump up as it was swimming upstream. It's exciting and fun to see. And if you'd like to see them for yourself, you can check out a full list of places all across the state on DWR's website. We'll link you at fox13now.com. And they've got information on a special event coming up Saturday after next at Fish Lake. That's October 4th. Well, they will have a biologist on hand to answer all your questions. And they say right now is the height of the kokanee salmon spawning season. Enjoy. Reporting in Emery County near Electric Lake, Amy Nay.
Earlier this week, during a speech also at the United Nations, President Donald Trump once more spoke out strongly against climate change.
It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong.
The president went on to call the idea of a carbon footprint a hoax and said green energy policies just made countries not following the directions richer. Now, Trump's statements go against the majority of scientists who have concluded that climate change is happening, it is real, and it is caused by fossil fuel production and other carbon emissions. Now, the first White House National Climate Advisor and former head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Gina McCarthy, joins us now live. Gina, thank you so much for being with us. We just heard the president's comments, which you came out with a pretty strong statement this week after he made those remarks. So tell us your issues with those remarks and why you disagree with what he said.
Well, first of all, Marisa, thank you for having me join you today. I think, Trump just continues to embarrass the United States on the global stage. We saw that. That's what we saw at the UN yesterday. He is denying climate change. He's calling it a hoax. He's tossing out all the scientists that might prove that climate change is the kind of danger that we all know it is, and tossing them out of the administration. He's simply undermining what we know to be our own interests in our country, not to mention our communities and our families and our businesses at home and abroad that really need to have a president that speaks truth, a president that listens to the science, a president that understands the challenge of climate change, as well as the opportunity that it brings to us to make that shift to clean energy.
So, Gina, you're part of this green initiative called America is All In, and you co-chair with Governor Gavin Newsom, Governor J.B. Pritzker, and Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb. So tell us what this group is trying to do to combat all of that you just talked about.
Well, America is All In is an effort to understand that when the federal government, our federal government, isn't doing what it needs to do to protect our health and our well-being and continue to drive our economy forward, then somebody else needs to act. And that somebody is what we call America is All In, which is a coalition that's been fully committed to working domestically and now is moving to work internationally as well to make sure that our governors and our mayors, our local leaders, our institutions, our private sectors all continue to remain engaged in the climate fight, and to see the opportunity that we have in the United States right now, not just to protect our own people, but to continue to grow our economy. And for some reason, this president is more interested in hanging on to fossil fuels, which is what caused the climate crisis to continue. But he's also turning away the opportunities that our country has to really build our economy and keep our communities healthy. And so we're finding ourselves in a position where America is All In has to step up at this point in time, and we will. We'll be there at the COP. We'll be there at the Leaders Forum. We'll continue to work together across governors and mayors and institutions, as well as significant amounts of the private sector who understand that clean energy is it, that we have the opportunity of a lifetime, and we are not ceding that opportunity to this president.
Gina, this has become such a polarizing partisan issue, and I'm wondering how your group plans to work across the aisle on that and get more buy-in. I mean, we see polling that shows that more young Republicans believe climate change is happening, but how do you expand that number?
You know, I think we realized when the Build Back Better bill was fashioned that this administration simply doesn't understand the needs of our communities and the needs of our state. It actually is taking away the opportunities that red states have to keep their communities healthy, to address the challenge of climate. We see impacts on climate all across the United States now. If you think Texas doesn't understand the challenges it's facing, then you're wrong. We are seeing tremendous amounts of heat stress. We're seeing our agriculture being damaged. We're seeing our water resources and are being diminished, and floods are coming like we've not seen before. And so I think our hope is that we can get away from the way in which this president is framing or failing to frame this challenge appropriately. And instead, we have to work together. Mayors understand what's going on, and governors know what they have to do to keep their communities safe and build our economy. And we want to do that. And it doesn't matter if you're a red or a blue state, your families, your communities. This is what we're doing with America is All In. We want to see both red and blue states engaged. We want to work together. Even if the federal government doesn't want to do the right thing, we have communities all across the United States who know what we have to work on together. You know, All In represents roughly 2/3 of the U.S. population and more than 3/4 of the U.S. U.S. GDP. And so it's hugely important for us to continue to work together as one country, even at a time when this president seems to want to divide us.
One last question for you. What does that look like at a tangible level on the ground, on a local level? What is this going to look like?
Well, hopefully it will look like a collaboration, because that's exactly what it is. You know, it will look like governors sitting down with their communities and using their own authorities to protect those communities. Look, the federal government has authorities, but so do states. So do city governments. So all over the country, cities are embracing clean energy. We are seeing it almost in every state across the nation. People are running to make sure that clean energy is up and running before the tariffs run out. So you're looking at a collaboration across state leaders and local leaders who are sharing information on what kind of policies and initiatives do we need to make to keep our communities safe and healthy. And that's what this is all about. You know, after all, climate change is the crisis of humanity here. But the opportunities that we have now to actually take advantage of clean energy that saves us money, that keeps us healthier, that will continue our economies moving forward. That's what America is all in. That's what we're working on together.
All right, former EPA Chief Gina McCarthy, we thank you so much for your time today.
Not at all. It's good to see you again.
Spins, tosses, and world titles. How a local baton twirling team beat the best across the globe. Why these girls tell me this international trip meant more to them than just a trophy. Than just a trophy.
There's an old saying in baseball that the umpire is always right.
Whew. It's a big change, right?
But now Major League Baseball has announced starting next season, they'll rely on cameras and computers in addition to the ump behind home plate. The technology is called ABS, or Automatic Balls and Strikes, and it actually has a Nashville connection. For years, the system was tested at minor league stadiums, including right here for the Nashville Sounds.
It's a set of cameras and stuff around the stadium that every pitch automatically calls a strike or a ball.
Back in 2023, Sounds manager Rick Sweet showed us how it works. The umpire still makes their call, but the pitcher, catcher, or batter must quickly signal to the ump they want to challenge their call.
Call has been challenged. Everybody turn around at one time, look at the board.
The video board then shows whether the computer validates the umpire's call or overturns it.
If there was a controversial call,
there's recourse for it.
Jeff Him is the play-by-play announcer for the Sounds. He says the rollout at the minor league level went smoothly.
There's a fun component from a strategy perspective. You only get 2.
And added accuracy and urgency to the game.
But if it's not a really high leverage spot, they might be well served to hold on to that.
Some detractors have said the change will end, shall we call them, spirited discussions between the managers and umpires. But Jeff thinks challenges may only add fuel to some skippers' critiques.
So the dugouts can still kindly remind home plate umpires, hey, you missed that one, or you've missed a few.
So will the challenges be the right call for the major leagues? Much like the umpires themselves, Jeff can only call it like he sees it.
It's been a really positive addition to the game.
Chris Davis, Scripps News Group.
It all started inside this gym in Hamburg. A group of dedicated twirlers turned their passion into perfection. After countless hours of practice, the team has now captured the title of world champions. From local competitions to the world stage in Italy, limited edition baton corps proved hard work and determination can take you anywhere.
As a team, we were all just thrilled to be going to Italy just to compete there and see all the different people twirling. It was just amazing.
Coaches Tammy Albrecht and Shaylin Thompson tell me when the season started, competing globally was never part of their original plans.
Your whole life, you're like, oh yeah, that'd be fun, whatever, you know, but it wasn't ever really like on the radar that this is the path we're going to take.
But as the season progressed,
the opportunity kept coming, came up, and we took advantage of it.
And just like that, these teens were jumping on an international flight for the first time to go head-to-head with baton twirlers from across the world.
To go to like a different continent and see all the twirlers that are over there, there were so many, and it was just like amazing to see like how different they are in twirling styles.
The team tells me when they arrived at the competition, that's when it hit them. The podium wasn't just a dream anymore.
We really wanted them to just be proud of their efforts and to feel that experience of, wow, we made it to the world stage.
We were just there kind of to have fun. You know, we were like excited to just even be there.
These girls exceeding their own expectations, making it to the podium with each performance and taking home the title of world champions in the junior parade division.
Please stand if you're able for the winning country anthems. USA.
We were all like checking with parents and our coaches and everything to like make sure it was true. Like it was just such a surprise. To place on podium in all 3 events that we did was like just beyond exciting.
But it was more than just taking home their medals and title. It was the life experience and connections they say they'll carry with them forever.
We would exchange like these little good luck gifts, and we really got to like make new bonds, but sometimes we didn't like understand them because like they spoke different languages, but it was really fun. Yeah, we got to meet some new people.
Megan Daniels, Scripps News Group.